The business I had before Oooby was a good, easy money, lucrative business, but it did not satisfy my soul at all. I didn't have relationships with people. I had transactional arrangements with people. For me personally, it was not satisfying as an entrepreneur. I wanted to be working on something that was meaningful.
Sometimes growth doesn't come from demand. It comes from rethinking the model beneath it. Today on All About Business, I'm joined by Pete Russell, founder of Oooby, short for Out of Our Own Backyards. Pete has spent more than a decade building technology that helps small local food producers sell directly to their communities, challenging the ways food systems have been organized for the last 80 years. In this episode, we talk about the long road to finding the right business model, the pivotal decision that unlocked real growth, and why stepping back as CEO can sometimes be the most entrepreneurial move of all.
We were trying to do two things at once. We were trying to build software to make this business more efficient and stay relevant. And we were trying to run logistics and vans breaking down in the middle of the night. And we just didn't have bandwidth to do both of them well. We completely shifted our model. We're letting the hard logistics side go and handing those over to the local teams that are running them. And we're just going to focus purely on the software.
And that pivot, you feel, was crucial to the current success and growth.
If I knew everything that I knew now, I probably wouldn't have started, because it has been a very challenging journey.
Do you regret starting it?
Welcome to All About Business with me, James Reed, the podcast that covers everything about business, management, and leadership. Every episode, I sit down with different guests who've bootstrapped companies, masterminded investment models, or built a business empire. They're leaders in their field, and they're here to give you top insights and actionable advice so that you can apply their ideas to your own career or business venture.
Well, today on All About Business, I'm delighted to welcome Pete Russell. Pete is originally from Sydney, Australia, but today he's travelled from Totnes in Devon to talk to me. Thank you, Pete, for making the journey. Pete is the founder of a company called Oooby. He's going to explain why it's called Oooby in a moment. But Oooby is a global steward-owned platform designed to support small-scale producers by connecting them with consumers online. And I think it's a wonderful concept, which is why I've invited you in to talk about it, Pete. And I think it's got all sorts of potential opportunities to grow and evolve to the benefit of everyone. Food is very much on people's minds, especially at the moment with so much being asked about whether food is safe, whether processed food is good for us, and what's the future way we should be traveling forwards regarding food and food production consumption. And I know you're a person with lots of fresh thinking in this space. So thanks for coming in. And let's begin at the beginning. What is Oooby and why is it called that?
All right. Well, thank you for having me, James. It's a pleasure to be here. Oooby, it's spelled with 4 O's, B-Y. So it stands for Out of Our Own Backyards. And its purpose is to help to put small scale back at the heart of the food system. We set Oooby up as an online platform for small scale producers to be able to represent themselves online and to be able to connect with their local communities and own their own supply chain from their gate to the customer's plate. And it's started out as an idea back in 2008 when we had the global financial crisis, and you probably, I don't know if you remember, what the type of mood there was around the GFC, but there was a lot of, fear of like, wow, our whole society is balancing on this fragile economic model, and food itself is at risk of the supply chains being disrupted because money was, not moving because exchange rates were spiking and so on. So that was the catalyst of it. And so it's really been an endeavor to try to find a way to bring food back to a resilient state. If you think we've been eating food from sort of an agricultural model for 10,000 years. And so it's been resilient for a long time. It's got a good Lindy effect. But just in the last 80 years, which is less than 1% of that time frame, we've completely changed the food system and we've centralized it massively. And that has come with challenges and with implications that I don't think we've really considered deeply enough. So Oooby is all about considering that and coming up with ways of sort of re-decentralizing our food systems to make them more fair, to make them more social, ecologically sound, and to make them more resilient again.
So if you go to Oooby, which is online, what will you find there?
Right. Well, you'll find, if you go to ooooby.com, you'll find a website where we are promoting our software to farmers and to sort of small scale food producers, where they can then create a shop online. So we are like a Shopify for small scale, artisan, ecologically sound food producers. The difference between Oooby and, say, Shopify is that we're specifically built for this type of business model, where it's highly recurring, fresh food, usually sort of harvest to order. And so it doesn't just satisfy the e-commerce sales part that you'd get from Shopify. It also manages all of the logistical fulfillment operations around coordinating a very high frequency aggregation of different types of food into a single bundle that can then land on the customer's doorstep.
And I imagine you charge the small producers for this.
We do. We just charge 1.9% of whatever they sell. So it's similar to Shopify in that it's a small, it's a a monthly fee. Shopify charge like a subscription fee. What we charge is a transaction fee. But then also we bundle into our service, card transaction fees and so on. So
1.9% is low, isn't it?
Well, 1.9% is our cut, and then you've got Stripe on top of that. It works out in total sort of around about the 3.5%, depending on the tiers you're on.
And what about the delivery of is that an additional charge?
No, we don't touch the food at all. What we give the farms is all the
So
digital,
they deliver it, do they?
They deliver it, but we provide them with the route optimization software.
Yeah.
So the way it works is a farmer will create a shop on Oooby, which displays all the food that they have available on a week-to-week basis. Customers will sign up as a customer to either order a one-off order or they can subscribe to a regular delivery.
Yeah.
And then the farm can see all the orders coming in. They can then close the orders, and then they will pack those orders, and the system will coordinate all of that for them. And then they load those orders into a farm vehicle, or they can get a courier to come and collect them on their behalf. And the system will figure out the optimal order of deliveries. And then typically the farmer will drive around, knock on the door with their grubby mitts, hand the food over to the customer, take the old empty box away, and go on to the next customer. So it's like a farmer's market on your doorstep. You still get to see the farmer if they're the one doing the delivery.
That's great. That must be that's a good neighborhood service.
Indeed, it is a good neighborhood service. And the food is super fresh because oftentimes it's been harvested that morning and delivered to your doorstep that day. And the great thing about it is the farmer's getting a full retail value. So they're not selling at 20p in the pound or 30p in the pound. They do more work. They do pack the boxes and they do deliver the boxes, but they get paid a lot more for that than they would save for not doing it, if you know what I mean.
They were selling it to a supermarket.
Exactly.
So I went on Oooby a little bit earlier when I was feeling hungry before lunch.
Oh, great.
and I was looking at a shop called the Walmer Court Farm Shop, which is in Deal, Kent.
Yes.
And I was really impressed. I mean, I thought it looked really appealing. And they had a fruit and veg box.
Yep.
With enough fruit and veg to feed 2 people for a week.
Yeah.
So they said priced at £20.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty marvellous.
Yep.
And then I saw they had a juice box for the new year for all of us trying to detox a bit, where you can get the right vegetables to juice up at home for just £10. So I thought, marvellous. I'm thinking, I want this. Yes. But then I realised that it was just the delivery area was local to Deal.
Right.
So it is a local service, isn't it?
really is a local.
So you have to find the one local to you
Exactly.
and set up a relationship.
So
I thought
that's
great.
and the way you find it, so if you go to the Oooby website, there is a link there
Yes.
where you can click on that link and you just put your postcode in and it will tell you what's your local,
Who are the people who are delivering your area?
what's your local farm.
Yeah.
So there's over 150 of these farm hubs or farm shops around the country, and there's more being added all the time.
So you think that from a small farmer's point of view, this is a must do, really. I mean, it's not a big cost and there's a lot of potential upside.
Absolutely.
In sales.
Absolutely.
So you need to make them aware that it's there and available.
It's about being aware, and it's also about a farmer mindset is a very seasonal, steady as you go mindset compared to the average day-to-day, rush sort of lifestyle. And they're also probably typically more in the, especially small scale independent types of farms, they're slower to adopt new technologies and new things. So what we're seeing is that when we very first started out, it took a lot of convincing and it took a lot of explaining and showing, how to do it. And there was a lot of head scratching and so on. Whereas now, because we've sort of hit, there's 150 of them operating, it's a business model that works for them, more and more farmers are realizing, I could do this. This is actually a way of selling my product where I don't have to sell it at a really discounted gate price. I don't have to turn up to a farmer's market with all my food and not know who's going to turn up and then have to bring it all back home again if the weather's no good. And I can add it alongside other things that I'm already doing. So I don't have to replace what I'm doing. It's an additional channel to market. And it allows me to look after and have direct relationship with a lot of customers, but very low touch. It's not like I'm taking phone calls all the time from Mary who's wanting to ask about my courgettes or whatever it is.
So your system will produce them a sort of list of orders and who to.
That's right. So the customers
fulfillment.
The customer experience is just like any other e-commerce experience. They find the farm on their phone. They shop the way they would expect to be able to shop. They can see when their order is going to arrive. If they've got any problems, they can let the farmer know and get credits for if something is broken or whatever. So it effectively gives that farm the sort of the firepower or the online firepower that you'd expect from, say, a Riverford or something like that. And then from the farmer's perspective, it just gives them all the information they need at the time they need it to be able to just do the hands-on work to delivering it. And what also happens is that you can imagine typically like our core customer type or farm type is a market garden where they're producing fresh veg. And so they will produce a range of fresh veg, but depending on the season will depend on how much of their range, how big their range is.
Now in sort of January it must be a bit limited.
Right, it's limited. But what they do is they then augment their range with food from other farms. So they might be getting eggs in, they might be getting meat in, they might be getting other crops in that they're not doing themselves from a variety from farms around them, as well as they will be working with some wholesalers to make sure that they don't run out of a decent selection. And so effectively what they're doing is they're kind of stacking their business model. They're being a farmer, they're being a producer, they're being paid, the full retail price for their own food, but they're also becoming a conduit for other food in their local region to get out to the customers.
I think there's something really good about meeting the person who's grown the food you're going to eat.
Yeah.
Or knowing the person.
Yeah.
That's something quite, I don't know, that feels quite important to me as part of the appeal of this model.
I think
because we're
is.
so detached, our society's become so urbanized and detached, and everything's sort of sealed up in plastic in supermarkets.
Yeah.
It's quite nice when a real person arrives with a box of vegetables and says hello.
Exactly. It's
and
a real
you can
person.
ask them about them.
with a real story. Yeah, absolutely.
And your customers like that? Is that
they love that? They love that. I mean, and that I guess is, you know, the interesting thing is there's a thread. You know, there's still it's I guess you could call it a niche. You know, now of customers that value that and recognize the difference between, you know, anonymous food in a supermarket with an obscured supply chain where they don't know where the food's come from, but they just trust the brand because the brand's been on the telly, versus really having an intimate understanding of where the food's come from, who grew it, how they grew it. And it's a more discerning type of customer that is buying typically from these farms. And they just have more understanding of what goes into their food and how important it is for their health.
It's important to get the message out because the price points that we just mentioned, £20 for a box of vegetables that lasts two people a week, is low. I mean, in a cost of living crisis, that seems to be a good deal.
Exactly. I mean, I think I always talk about there's three main pillars to gaining market share. That's price, convenience, and awareness. And up until recently, food bought direct from farms or at the farmers markets and so on was sort of perceived as a premium thing. You know, premium prices, inconvenient. You have to get up and get to the farmers market. But because you really were aligned with the values, people went out of their way to do it. But that was a small niche. Today, especially with inflation and food inflation in particular, farm produced, delivered to your door food is very price competitive, especially for the value, for the quality you get. It's in a lot of times it's actually lower cost than you would pay for in a supermarket. Convenience it's on your doorstep. So now we've hit the convenience parity, we've hit pricing parity. The only missing thing is awareness. Most people just do not know that option's available to them. Because
that's why we're talking now.
That's why we're talking now.
To increase awareness.
To increase the awareness, because they don't have the marketing budget. Most of these farms know how to get their first 100 customers because they go to their local school and they say, can you put it on in the newsletter? They'll put pin boards up on the local shop bulletin board. They might do some letterbox drops. Then they'll get 100 customers and now they're too busy to go and find the next 100 customers, or they don't know how to reach that next 100. They're not social media experts or anything like that. So there's this sort of threshold that is the challenge, is the awareness only gets so far before it abates. And that's what we're working on. So that's where we feel like we've now solved the price and convenience problem. Now, how do we make more people aware that you can actually shop direct from your local farms now? You get better pricing, better product, super convenient.
So that's so interesting. We had a recent guest, Sir Richard Harpin, who founded HomeServe.
Yes.
And he's very adept at building businesses. And his mantra was bricks, clicks, and paper, as he put it. And so, I mean, I asked him what that meant. And he's a big believer in direct mail. Just posting things to people, because he says so little now is done that way, but it works. So I'm thinking in this model, if these local farms were to mail their neighborhoods saying this service available through Oooby or direct from our shop, that might help.
It might help. I agree. So, I think the good old letterbox drop
I think that
can be very powerful for this type of business.
I think especially when it's sort of targeted in a way that is really helpful to people rather than dreaded sort of junk mail.
Exactly. But, I agree.
This really is. I mean, to have this. I mean, you can order from a supermarket online, or you can order from Oooby.
Exactly. Yeah.
And meet the person who grew it.
Yeah. Well, you won't order from Oooby. You order direct from that farm.
Yeah.
So we're just in the background.
You're the platform that facilitates.
We're the platform in the background. Exactly.
You're the marketplace.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. What have you learned along the way? To get Oooby established so that it's now working, as you say, effectively, and it's now a question of awareness.
Yes.
I mean, from the original idea, what were the sort of challenges and difficulties you faced, and how did you go forward one step at a time?
Right. Well, I mean, the journey's been a long journey. When we started in 2000, so 17 years ago, coming up to 18 years, we've had along that time quite a number of near-death experiences where we've had to continually adapt to the changing circumstances. So, in the beginning in 2008, all we did was set up was a social network online for food growers to talk to each other. And then we realized the problem was channel to market. So then we set up the model where farms could effectively sell to local customers, but we would do the hands-on work between the gate and the plate. We would collect the food from the farms, we would pack them into the boxes, and we would deliver them to the customers, and we would take our margin.
So you were doing that?
And we were doing that. And we built our software to facilitate our operation. And to begin with, the mood was high. 2008, the crisis and everything, people were like, oh, I want access to my local food. I feel threatened with food security. And so it was easy. And we signed up customers quickly, and we grew very quickly. We opened up, hubs in other cities, and it was going quite quick. But then what we found was that our sort of niche that had expanded in the wake of the financial crisis started to shrink, and people started to sort of forget, and it was more about just old habits, and so we had built sort of a physical infrastructure to enable us to serve a certain number of customers, but it became harder and harder to keep those customers and to get new customers come on. So we really struggled. For years we struggled, and we had to keep on changing our model to try to keep the revenue above the cost. Ultimately, it got to 2019, and the other thing that we'd realized is that we were trying to do two things at once. We were trying to build software to make this business more efficient and stay relevant in changing times. And we were trying to run these operations where we had forklifts and cool rooms and staff and logistics and vans breaking down in the middle of the night. And we just didn't have bandwidth to do both of them well. And so it was in 2019 that I actually moved from down under here to the UK. My wife's from the UK.
Right.
And that's when we completely shifted our model, and we said, right, we're letting the hard logistics side go and handing those over to the local teams that are running them, and we're just going to focus purely on the software. And that gave us all of our headspace just to software only, and then to adapt the software to become more of a SaaS product as opposed to our own in-house product. But it was built on the experience we'd had over the previous 9+ years.
Yes.
Of running that business model.
And that pivot you feel was crucial to the current success and growth.
Absolutely. It took us 10 years to get to 3 hubs.
Right.
And then in the last 5 years, it's over 150. So it completely changed, the dynamics.
There's an interesting lesson in that. I mean, for entrepreneurs listening.
Right.
What is it? I mean, don't try and do too much, or pay close attention to what's working and what's not, or
it depends on so
you can't
many
be good
things.
at 2 things. Focus on one.
What do you think?
The sort of can't ride 2 horses?
Yeah,
well, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there is a generic sort of lesson from it. It always depends on your situation. In this situation, there's definitely the thing of putting all your focus into one thing. That definitely helped. It's also a timing thing. Like, I think that often what the right strategy in the beginning is not the right strategy for midway down the path, and which is not the right strategy for later. And you can't take your midway strategy and apply it at the beginning. So as you go down your journey, yes, you've got to adapt to based on where you are now, not where you were or where you want to be. You've got to say, well, where am I in this journey? And is now the right time to make that switch? And if I hadn't done what I did and made the quote unquote mistakes that I made, I wouldn't be in this unique position I'm in now to be able to do what I can do now and what no one else can do now because they're not in this position. So that I think has been our sort of way of navigating through challenging times. And the other part of it is that Oooby was never set, the business I had before Oooby was a good, easy money, lucrative business, but it did not satisfy my soul.
Okay, what was it out of interest? Some people might not want to know that.
It was importing frozen pastries from Europe into Australia and selling them through all the supermarkets. So it was the other end of the spectrum. It
really was
centralized food, and it was easy. We could grow it quickly. We had the firepower of massive manufacturers behind us. You just had to sell, and the apparatus was there to just build and grow. And we made a lot of money very quickly. But I didn't have relationships with people. I had transactional arrangements with people. People were no longer important in that scenario, really. And the food wasn't important. They were just widgets that we were moving. And for me personally, it was not satisfying as an entrepreneur. I wanted to be working on something that was meaningful. And so even though Oooby is probably one of the hardest ways to make money because you're dealing in very low margin industry, you're dealing in a super competitive industry, you've got to work way harder to make it work even just a little bit than opportunities that open up amazing gaps, for example. But it's super fulfilling because you're doing something is worthwhile. And because of that, when you do come up against really challenging near-death experiences, there's this galvanizing element to it where he's like, we're going to keep going. We're going to find a way. And that's been a huge part as to how we've kind of been able to navigate the very rocky sort of terrain.
Is there anything you'd wish you'd known when you started Oooby that you know now that you could share with us?
Interestingly, I think that I would have a lot of advantages by knowing what I know now back when I started. But if I knew everything that I knew now, I probably wouldn't have started because it has been a very challenging journey.
It's been tough.
It's been a lot tougher than I thought it would be.
Do you regret starting it?
I don't regret starting it, but I don't think that if the person that I was back then wasn't as galvanized as I am now, and I don't think that he would have done it.
Oh.
I think that the sacrifice would have been too much, and he probably would have gone, I'll leave it to someone else.
Right, interesting.
Yeah.
So your younger self saw it maybe as a quicker opportunity that would establish itself faster.
My younger self was far more idealistic, had just come off the back of a very successful business experience.
Business, yeah.
Business was easy. He thought he had a natural knack and that this was an exciting new thing and it lined up with everything. And now we've got, online commerce. The iPhone had just come out. This thing in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be bigger than the supermarkets. It's going to be amazing. And we just got to play our cards right. And if you told him that, in 15 years, you're going to be at the grindstone, you'll have made good progress, but not as far as you think. And it's still going to be hard. He'd have said, yeah, I'll give that a miss. I'll go do something that actually makes money.
So just as well you didn't know that.
So it's a good thing I didn't know.
All right. Good to say. So you're a steward-owned business.
Yes.
Oooby. And I'm curious what that actually means because I've come across it a lot. And I thought you might be able to explain.
Steward-owned, we're a for-profit company, but we're purpose-driven, meaning our purpose is to put small scale back at the heart of the food system, or in other words, to decentralize the food system. But we need to be very commercially sound in order to do that properly. And so we are a for-profit company, but steward ownership sort of changes the nature of a for-profit business model in 2 key ways. What it does is it recognizes that shareholders have sort of two main entitlements to their shares. They have the right to profits and they have the right to control. What steward ownership does is it decouples those two rights, and it puts them into two separate buckets. And so it says, okay, the right to control needs to be given and held by the people who are driven by the purpose of why this company exists, right? So they will have the ability to make the decisions as to the direction of the company and ensure that it's going in the direction that it was intended from the beginning. And the right to rewards is held by the people who have invested into the company, who believe in the purpose, who are aligned with the purpose, but they don't get to control it. They don't get to say, oh, there's an opportunity, Amazon wants to buy this company out. It's not aligned with our values, but we want the money. So they don't have the voting rights.
They can't do that.
They can't do that. And so he basically puts the voting rights into the steward's hands, and it puts the return rights into the investor's hands. The second aspect of the return rights is that the returns are typically a capped return. So it's saying, okay, there's a point at which you got enough back for the amount you put in. You just can't stay on the gravy train forever, right? So there's a point where we've paid you your multiple that is fair and reasonable, right, for the risk that you've put in. But at that point, your returns are done, and future profits are then reinvested back into the company. And the purpose for the reason for that is because we're trying to build something that is going to sustain itself for decades and decades, where we're not having value extracted from the company or having influence that is not aligned with our purpose, moving the company in a different direction.
So that was very much your idea at the outset, was it? You wanted to set it up like that?
As an idea, yeah. The essence of steward ownership has been as a part of Oooby from the beginning, but we discovered steward ownership as a legitimate business, as a legitimate ownership model only a few years ago, which led by the Purpose Foundation in Berlin, in Germany. Yeah. And there are a lot of steward-owned companies, like Bosch is a steward-owned company, Patagonia is a steward-owned company. It's a very legitimate and fast-growing ownership model that purpose-led founders are recognizing as a way for them to be able to do what they wanted to do without kind of mission drift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting. And so you've sort of recently, I understand, you've stepped back from being the CEO of Oooby and you're now the chair.
Yes.
And you've started a new initiative.
Yes.
Which is called the Decent Alliance.
Correct.
What is the Decent Alliance and why are you doing that, Pete?
Okay. Yeah. So the Decent Alliance is a decentralized food alliance.
All right.
And Oooby is the first member of the Decentralized Food Alliance. And then there are two other founding members, and that is Linked Farm in Belgium and POD, which is an acronym for Plant on Demand in Spain. And all three of these members operate a very similar business model in their home markets. So the UK is our home market now. And between us, we are facilitating around about 40 million euros or pounds, worth of volume of trade from these farms. The reason we want to form an alliance is because we all have walked a very similar path. We're all values aligned. We're all purpose driven, and we've all built products that serve the same outcome, but then there's like a kind of an 80% overlap in terms of what our products do, which means that we would otherwise be competitors. Like if we wanted to grow Oooby further, we'd want to go international, we'd start competing with these guys in their home market. But rather than do that, it's to say, what could we do together that's way more powerful than what any of us could do on our own? And so by coming together, we can see how our products are very similar in a lot of regard, our products being our platforms, our digital platforms. But so there's a big overlap, but there's also key overhangs For example, our overhang is gate to plate, from the farm to the household is what we really focus on. Whereas Pod in Spain, they really have got a strong sort of farm to schools or farm to hospitals, the procurement side. And then Linked Farm have got quite a good system for sort of farm to, local distributor to schools and hospitals to homes as well. So between us, we've got quite a broad capability set that can adapt to whatever the models within our markets are. So it means that we can do things like maybe use each other's products in our home markets and therefore help to, galvanize and build out decentralized food within our home markets. But critically, and I think most importantly, what it means is that we all bring our strength of our expertise and so forth to the table, where we can start to work on designing a completely new tech stack, a completely new digital product that's built AI first, that's built on decentralized web technology, that is far more future ready and future proof than any of the products that we've built to date. So we've been building for nearly 15 years now. So parts of our software, even though we've upgraded and so forth, is based on decisions we made 15 years ago. We can now bring our expertise and those of the other Alliance members together and have a discrete engineering team build a new product on new technology very quickly. That means that we can then, if we choose to, we can migrate all of our users onto this new common technology stack.
All of your users being the customers
the
of Oooby.
Farmers and the customers and so on, of which there's, between us, there's 40, 50, 60,000 users. And that's just the first.
And what's the advantage of doing that, having it all on one stack?
The advantage of doing that is we're not all running separate platforms, right? That have all got a legacy technical debt that is naturally accrues over time. So we're able to move on to and run on a new product that is future ready, and that can do things like engage with agentic commerce and the like, where people are shopping through their chat GPT. So it's far more future ready. It also means that each instance, each market that this new product is able to be deployed in gets a completely comprehensive capability set. So that they're not just limited to what their product is quite good at. They're able to bring a very comprehensive solution to their market, which then expands the decentralized food economy within their markets.
So how do people find Decent?
Decentalliance.com.
Right, decentalliance.com.
Yes.
And who are you looking to contact you at the moment? I mean, what are you looking for? Farmers? Or
at the moment we're looking for other platform members. So digital platforms that are serving decentralized food within their markets. That's our primary target.
So you want them all to come in your direction?
We're wanting to talk to them all. We're wanting to come together and effectively do a collaborative or cooperative type of new venture that we can all benefit from.
So is this an attempt to get the scale that will bring you the awareness you need?
Exactly. Right. And it will get the scale for awareness. Also, it'll get the economies of scale, right, that are needed in order to be able to compete in this future in terms of the digital economies of scale. And also what it does is it means that we are able to coordinate a lot of these otherwise very fragmented individual small scale food businesses into a coordinated swarm that can together deliver a much better product, a much better service than they could individually on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this is still quite early days.
It's still early days. It's only 3 months old, but it's moving quickly.
So Pete, this new Decent platform, which sort of aggregates these other Oooby and others, and gives it scale. I mean, is this something that's hard to build? I mean, it sounds technically quite potentially complex.
What's been hard is figuring out how the software needs to work in order to really facilitate decentralized food. And that's been a close to 20-year process. Now that we know what really works and what doesn't and how it works, building it's not hard. Building is actually relatively simple, especially when you're building it on new technology with the rapid productivity gains that AI is doing with people who know what they're doing rather than thinking what they know and then discovering later they don't. We know what we're doing now. We think, I believe we can build a new tech stack from scratch that will reach feature parity with all the other combined platforms that are a part of the alliance within 12 to 18 months. And from there, it will be way more extensible at a way lower cost. So it'll be future ready. So the customer experience when they move on to this will be a huge upgrade, right? And it'll be agentic commerce ready. And what that means is that, ChatGPT just recently released their first agentic commerce agent, which effectively does your shopping for you. So what we're moving from is an attention economy where everything in business is all about getting people's attention to affect their shopping behaviors with these short, sharp little nuggets that attract their attention so that they'll then buy their product. We're about to move into the intention economy where people will no longer make buying decisions. They will set their intention into the agent. They'll with a prompt. This is what I want. I want food for my kids. This is what they eat. This is what they don't like. I want it to be as natural and fresh and fair and as local as possible. It's got to, this is my budget. This is what I'm allergic to. This is what my husband, likes to eat, blah, 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 whatever it is. And it goes and does the shopping. And so it doesn't listen. It doesn't watch the telly. It doesn't look at ads. It goes and looks into the deep data for based on the intent that you give it to it. So
it's reading all the food labels.
Exactly. In detail.
Yeah.
It will read reams and reams of data on a product that a customer would read, luckily, 3 lines, right? So it's making much more informed decisions. And so marketing is dead. There will not be marketing in 10 years.
Marketing is dead.
Marketing is dead. Advertising is dead.
In 10 years?
Yeah.
That's a very bold statement.
I think it's not bold enough. I think it's going to be
not bold enough.
Soon. I think it's going to be sooner than that. But in 10 years, advertising, billboards, all this stuff that catches our attention so that we can make these,
like read my book.
Yeah, exactly. they're going to be largely obsolete.
But how do you get a new idea across to anyone then? If they're just streamlined into
in terms of consumer products. In terms of consumer products, I think the ideas are going to get across to people are going to be conceptual ideas. They're not going to be, this is my product type of idea. Your people will set what they want based on the conversations they have, and the agents are going to find the products that fit your intent.
But if Hyundai have produced an amazing new model car, how am I going to find out about it if they don't?
Because you'll have your intent in there. I mean, it's not going to be. You're still going to be human, no doubt, and you're still going to have the things that catch your eye and tickle your fancy. But as a means of governing and influencing consumer behavior, purchasing patterns, and so forth, the cost of doing that versus because of the way that decisions are being made differently is not going to be worth it. The amount of money that's poured into advertising at the moment in order to affect that behavior won't be justifiable.
Right. Advertising is dead.
Advertising is dead.
5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount going on in this space.
Yep.
Do you feel optimistic, or do you think that these great industrial process food producers are going to win? I think it feels a bit David v Goliath.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah.
But David won, didn't he?
He did. He did.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I think I've been cursed with optimism.
Cursed or blessed?
Well, I think you have to be optimistic. You have to be. So that's kind of like, that's a ticket into the game. You got to believe that we can do it against all the odds. But I do think that actually we're moving into a different paradigm. Like we're right now smack in the middle of a transition into a different paradigm that's more consequential and of greater scale than moving from pre-internet to post-internet.
Right.
Like this AI era is so significantly larger than we can comprehend, and it's so fast and it's so vast, and it will upend industries more so than the internet has. I mean, the internet was so disruptive. You look at Yellow Pages, before and after the internet. You look at some of those massive incumbents before and after the internet. Pre and post AI as the dominant technical infrastructure of our, for humanity, again, completely will invert everything. And I believe that with the right approach, with the right expertise and strategy, that food systems can revert to the mean. 10,000 years of being decentralized, 80 years, less than 1% of that time in having a centralized experiment, of which many things have gone wrong in that time. Diet, society, ecosystems have all been punished in the last 80 years by centralizing food. We can just, if we can play our cards right, we can re-decentralize the food system and have another 10,000 years of resilience and ecologically sound and socially sound food systems. So I don't think, we've got Lindy effect on our side, right? I don't think it's impossible, but it definitely takes
the Lindy effect. Explain.
Well, the Lindy effect is what has been around for a long time is likely to be around for a long time.
Oh, I see.
So chairs are very Lindy.
Right.
Right.
What's the origin?
And a table is a very. I don't know where the origin of Lindy effect is, but if you Google it up or ChatGPT Lindy effect, you'll understand.
You'll find something that's been around a long time is likely to be around for a long time.
Exactly. And something that's been around for a short time is likely only to be around for a short time. The probability is higher that will only be around for a short time.
Interesting.
Centralized food systems have been around for less than 1% of the agricultural era. And it's quite possible that they won't be around for more than 1%.
So if you can use AI to connect consumers with producers in new ways, you could reverse it and take it back to decentralized. That's the idea. The idea, essentially.
But
I mean, and you're in support of what you're saying.
Yes.
I mean, locally produced, especially organic food, tastes way better.
Tastes way better.
I mean, the whole experience of eating should be enjoyable. And it tastes way better.
And the reason it tastes way better is because it's fresher.
Yes.
Right? Because it was harvested only a few hours before you've got it on your plate. That's your biggest determining factor of flavor is freshness.
Yeah, I know. The vegetables we grow at home in the garden taste so much better than the ones that I buy in the supermarket.
Yeah. And the vegetables you've grown at home in the garden haven't been engineered to survive a long supply chain. They're not wrapped in all this ridiculous packaging.
Well, I don't like the plastic and all that.
No. I mean, you think about it, what this solves is it solves all the inputs into food, like preservatives and all those things that are designed for supply chain. It solves all the packaging, right? It solves all that supply chain cost. If you buy a product today, less than 20% of what you spend, let's say you pay £1, less than 20p is food. You're paying 80p for supply chain.
Really?
I
mean, there are foods you can't get, the farm in Deal, Kent can't produce like bananas and things.
Well, that's true. That's true. But there are small scale independent banana farms that are part of a decentralized food system.
Right.
And that you can move food via a sort of a honeycomb effect. Like we're not saying that you shouldn't buy food or eat food that's outside of a certain period, circumference or diameter or radius from your home. We're saying that the food, you can access food that is fresher, more honest. It's more fair, right? You couldn't 10 to 20 years ago, but you can again now, right? And you can, and it's direct or as direct as possible from the farms, and the farms are being paid fairly, and you're getting
that's a really
food.
key point. I mean, you couldn't do this 10, 20 years ago, but you can now.
You can now.
and being aware that you can is
Exactly.
an important first step, and knowing some of the places you can go and look,
Exactly.
such as Ooooby,
Yeah.
is necessary too. So anyone listening who wants some nice vegetables, go and have a look at Ooooby.
Go
So
to
when you
Ooooby.
go there, you put in your postcode and it tells you who the local farm.
Yeah. I
suppliers
think that if you go to ooooby.org,
Yeah,
it'll take you straight to the Find Your Local Food page.
right.
Or you go to ooooby.com and click on the link at the top of the page, and it'll take you to your Find Your Local Food page.
Yeah.
You put your postcode in, and it will tell you which is your closest
Yeah,
farm online farm. Or food hub. Sometimes they're like a community food hub that represents a number of farms. It'll tell you the closest one. It'll tell you whether you're within the delivery zone, or if you're not, how far away the nearest pickup point is. And that's how you can engage. And then you deal with them, you pay them your money, they deliver you the food.
and they're duty bound to deliver the food.
Exactly.
I suppose if they don't deliver it, you can complain to Ooooby. Is that
You can.
right?
You can. Well,
Do you get many complaints?
Well, people, they're very rarely, but because it goes through Stripe,
Yeah.
Stripe have got all their processes in place. So you'll have some people say, I didn't get my food, or it was terrible, and they'll say, okay, I want to reverse that transaction. It's very safe.
Yes.
All right, it's very safe. But honestly, we have, there are 40 to 50,000 transactions happening at the moment a month. And most months we got no reports of any reverse transactions.
So that's very good. So
Yeah.
very high rates of satisfaction.
Yeah, definitely. And because they're dealing with a small scale business who values that customer enormously. If you think of like a business that's got 100,000 customers, okay, how important is one customer compared to a business that's got 100 customers? That one customer is, right?
Yeah, it's
1,000
face to
times more
face as
important.
well, increasingly in your way, as opposed to anonymous. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and then if you're a producer or a farm shop, you go to ooooby.com.
Go to ooooby.com, and then you can just click to book a demo. One of our team will get in touch, show you how it all works, and learn about your farm, your situation, so they can give you the right sort of guidance, and then you can be up and running within a matter of weeks with your own online farm shop running and ready to take payments and customers.
Yeah. Well, that's very exciting too. So
Yeah.
I hope you'll get many more visits.
Thank you.
Deservedly so. Is there anything else sort of big picture around the food industry that you want to sort of point out? Or, I mean, it seems to be quite a hot topic at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there is a fair bit of awareness coming now around farmers and how critical farmers are to
Yeah,
our
I mean, they've
society.
had a tough time in Britain anyway.
Exactly, and elsewhere. So just to reinforce that message is, our farmers are the people who we rely on 3 times a day, probably the people we rely on more than anyone else.
Yeah.
And so realizing the choices we make are either serving or harming those guys when we make our purchase choices.
Yes.
So just being aware of that, and also just being aware that there are options now that you didn't know existed. Right? You might be blindly thinking, well, of course I'd love to buy food from my local farm, but I don't have time and I got to go to the supermarket, and I'll just go to the super because I assume I can't get that. But you can. And I think there's a lot of the demand for this type of food is way greater than how much people are actually accessing it. Like, you can't measure demand by supply. People want it, but they'll get what they.
How do you know they want it if you can't measure it?
Because what I mean is, if you ask 100 people, would you rather eat this broccoli that's grown in this local farm organically delivered to your door, or would you rather eat this broccoli here that's grown in a big farm, mass produced, conventionally grown farm,
wrapped in
plastic that could have. How many people are going to pick that one?
Yeah.
No one. Like, we know everyone wants this one, but they don't think they have the option for that. So they'll get that. But that doesn't tell us that they don't want that.
No.
And it's more of what we've got is an invisibility cloak that we need to lift. And with the visibility, people will change their minds.
But you've also got a big logistical challenge, in the centre of a big city like London. If we all
True.
want the fresh broccoli delivered, that's not going to happen.
That is true. And interestingly, most of the delivery footprint of the farms and the home delivery on Oooby is distributed throughout rural areas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So, there are some that will come into London, but if you think about it, it's the sort of more rural towns and villages that lack the type of purchase opportunities that you guys have got in the city, and that have the relationships. They understand the nature of the producers more because they live closer. So yeah, not ironically, but that is one of the things that this model does. It really helps to stimulate rural economies.
Which is good. But I mean, there's little point driving into the centre of London to deliver a vegetable box £20 when you get hit by a congestion charge.
Right.
You're not going to make a return.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be much more. But it does support the rural economies, which is important.
It does. And I mean, I do think that I think that we can serve the cities. And I just feel like it's a matter of building up the critical mass where it becomes viable to really serve the cities well.
Oh, so you haven't given up on that?
No. I think the cities are definitely the big gaping. London is a big gaping mouth of England,
Yeah.
And there are ways that we can really do that, but we're coming at it from the outside.
So slowly.
Slowly.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. I always ask two questions at the end of my conversations, which I ask everybody. I'm going to ask them of you now, Pete. The first is because at Reed we love Mondays.
Yeah.
The first is, what gets you up on a Monday morning?
A new puppy.
You've got a new puppy?
Got a new puppy.
What sort of dog?
It's a little Cavador. So it's a small Labrador with a King Charles Spaniel. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Cavador.
Yeah.
Oh, good luck.
So getting up and
What's the Cavador called?
Suki.
Very good.
Yes. So that's what gets me up on a Monday morning now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I hope that all goes well.
Thank you.
And the last question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Man, it's like there are so many potentials. Well, ideally, where I see myself in 5 years' time is on a small scale farm, growing some crops, having a few animals, and being able to live that life. It's a hard life, and I know because I deal with them all every day, but it's also just a very fulfilling life. And I grew up on a small holding. I love that lifestyle, and I think that as long as my kids can chip in and help out, I think it could be a good one again.
They'll need a good work ethic to work on a farm.
They will
get up early with
ethic.
their dad.
But there's a good business model that we can employ.
Yeah, well, you'll have Ooooby to sell.
We'll have Ooooby. So
you want to become a customer.
Exactly.
Almost.
I want to become a customer. Exactly.
Good luck with that. I wish you
you
all the very best. Thanks for coming all this way to talk to me. It's been
a real pleasure, James. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pete.
Cheers.
Pete, thank you for joining me on All About Business. I'm your host, James Reed, Chairman and CEO of Reed, a family-run recruitment and philanthropy company. If you'd like to learn more about Reed, Pete's work, or Ooooby, you'll find all the links in the show notes. See you next time.